All right, well, welcome everyone. It's Wednesday night and it is our course spotlight. And as Tim said, I'm Kathy Lawson, Chief Knowledge Officer for the Great Discovery. And I love these sessions because it's our time to get to learn and learn from our wonderful content creators. And tonight will be no exception. It's Lori, and let me read you just a piece of her amazing biography and what she's done. So Lori Kirstein has a Goodbye Good Girl project, and that provides rapid and permanent personal shifts of emotional set points and perspectives, which allows women leaders, public speakers, and personal growth fans the experience of walking to the other side of limiting mindsets, behaviors, and habits. Lori's work walks women into experiencing their freedom to shift at will into new and empowering practices, to permanently transform limiting emotions and perspectives, and to embrace unapologetic self-expression with authenticity and confidence. And so tonight, Lori's going to talk about her workshop for women hungry for visibility. It's all yours, Lori. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. What I was saying was I want you to introduce me everywhere I go. Thank you. Yeah, I am extremely passionate about women having visibility and our voice. And I'm bringing forward an entire line of trainings. And I'm starting with this one, which is a 90-minute thing called Can You See Me Now? Because we women spend our lives feeling discounted, getting the message from marketing, from a masculine heavy corporate environment that we don't quite fit. And it's actually true in that the social system we live in was created a very, very, very long time before we were in these bodies. And it was created by rich white males. Now, I'm not against men. Let's not go down that path. I'm very interested in how the feminine needs to come in now, in how we need to really supercharge not just women, but the feminine. But I am very much supportive of women because we have been so kept out in the cold for so long in so many ways. And I would like to read you some statistics. And you'll say, well, why are you going to read me statistics? We're going to talk about your course. Well, because you're going to understand the perspective that you will get to shift from and the realities that you have been dealing with that are really not. Oops, recording stopped. Okay. Do I need to wait?
No, just keep going. I'm not sure what happened there, but we'll work it behind the scenes.
Okay. Okay. So you will really come to understand that some of the breakthroughs that I've had, you can also have. And one of the biggest ones for me was that I came to understand that all of the feelings that I had about whether I could succeed, whether I was allowed to speak up, whether I could feel freer and more authentic in myself were really not based on my traumas. They were not based on my issues. They're based on social programming that I had taken in, that we all take in, whether we're women or men. So let me give you something from the Harvard Business Review about female Supreme Court justices, just in case you feel like, oh, it must be me. I'm just too low on the totem pole. No. Female Supreme Court justices are interrupted three times more. Oh, you want me to take off my glasses? I can do that. 3 times more than their male counterparts. Interesting. Between 58 and 72% of workplace victims of sexual harassment do not report it because of the system, because the system is bigger than us, or so it would seem. And I'm going to teach you that there's a way to step outside of it. Also, from the Harvard Business Review, women run 11%, only 11% of Fortune 500 companies. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, those of us on this call, though nearly 40% of all privately held firms in the US are founded by women, that's 40%, only 2% of US venture capital financing is allocated to us. So why is that important in what I'm teaching? I want to get to that sweet spot where we understand that this is real. The society that we live in, we're not crazy. We shouldn't think that because we can't fight it or we can't give into it or be clever and find a way around it, that we are doomed. In fact, we have access to something so powerful that we've been told to be ashamed of, and that is emotion. Emotions are vibrational energies. And you know this if you've ever been depressed, you feel like your energy is slug, it's slime. When you feel incredibly lit up and joyous and happy and fabulous, you feel like you could do 12 things at once. That's energy. And the thing you may not know about that energy is that it goes out and it changes things for you. So the trick is to be in charge of that energy instead of being enslaved to the emotions that come and go. And we have that ability. I healed myself. I wasn't thinking I was gonna, I wasn't intending to, but 3 years ago, I ended up healing myself of 40 years, 40 years of clinical depression using emotion and its energy, focus, and mindset. So in my course, I'm going to be talking to you also about how do we use this? How do we understand that we have taken in all of the social shoulds, all of the negative ones, and how do we start to use that emotional power to shift out? How do we use the feminine in terms of, check this out, instead of thinking we have to go from 0 to 100, we need to go from 0 to 1%. We need to take the small steps. When we get pregnant, I'm going to quote Abraham Hicks here. You don't want to get pregnant and have the baby the next day. Like you don't want that. That's not what you want. We understand somewhere within our DNA. And we're afraid to try it most of the time because we've been trained to go as fast as we can. We've been trained if we don't do that, we will fail. And it's a big lie. But we know somewhere within us that if we slow down, then we're going to see more. We're going to understand more. We're going to be able to unfold into more. It's just like sitting in a car. If you're driving the car, you're not going to see all of the shops along the road. If you're sitting in the car, you can see every single shop. And you'll be able to tell that driver, hey, guess what? I saw this awesome place. We have to go there. The same is true of what goes on internally with us. Women have been, and the feminine, have been shamed for so long. We've all heard it. If you've been in corporate America, you've heard it. Oh, you're too emotional. Don't be so emotional. Really? Then how come you're allowed to scream and yell at your team? Isn't that emotional? So there is an understanding that I'm going to give you an overview in this 90-minute course, which is going to lead into an offer for a 6-hour course where you really will be able to step into seeing your new identity as that woman you always thought you were. And you may have been working for years doing the workshops, the therapy. I know, I've done it, I do it. But what really works is coming into an understanding of what your feminine power, what the feminine is, and what your feminine power is, and then experiencing yourself differently. So I'm going to be using exercises from the worlds of acting and improv. I'm a professional actor, although I haven't worked for a while. That's a whole other topic, but I'm going to be using those in our group setting, in a very mutually supportive group setting. This is supposed to be fun. Did you ever consider that personal growth might be fun? What a concept. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've cried in more workshops than I can remember. And it was always great. It was always like a release and a relief, but it didn't last. I've been on a mission to find, and I have found, a lot of answers of how to really create change that is not just change for a minute. It's not just like losing weight and gaining it back and losing weight and gaining it back. It's transformation, it's change, and it's done in tiny, tiny steps, which sounds weird. I mean, I spent decades trying to be an entrepreneur and honestly failing, just failing. I couldn't get my feet on the ground. And I knew that I wanted to be an international public speaker and thought leader. I knew that I wanted to help women do exactly the same thing in whatever form they wanted, to be able to live out loud, speak out loud, deal with the conditioning and break the chains. And so that is really what I'm bringing forward. And it has been such an incredible journey with both the Great Discovery and with my own insides and the what I've been the home office, the spiritual home office, being a 360-degree person, which is the brain, the spirit, the feminine, and the divine masculine. I refuse to give in to the toxic masculine. I'm done. I'm just done. And yes, when I stand up for myself, I do get that stuff in my head. Oh, you were too loud. But I've learned, I've practiced, and I now know we have to have the experiential. I know that that's part of the old wiring. And I know that if I so choose, I have the exercises and the different kinds of things that I can teach you to break the chain of that. It's just everything's moving so fast right now in our evolutionary period as humanity. That may be going off the reservation for some of you, but that is my perspective, that so many things come up to be broken. There's only so much time in the day, and I've learned to have fun. I never used to have fun. I used to just be miserable. So I want to invite you to a fun workshop with personal growth. Make a peanut butter jelly sandwich of it. And the last thing I want to tell you before opening this to any questions or comments is it's going to be on July 2nd. And because that's right before the nation's, the US's Independence Day, I've decided to christen this Women's Independence Day. I hereby decree that July 2nd is Women's Independence Day. And it's going to be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this will open your mind, and it will take a lot of weight off of your mindset, because we are so busy blaming ourselves and shooting on ourselves, and it's not good. And that doesn't help. That doesn't move us forward. So I'm here to help you look at things a different way and see if that doesn't work for you. Please sign up. Oh, thank you, Bree. And I'm all fuzzy.
All right. Well, somehow let me go ahead and put you back as our spotlight. And are you ready for questions?
I certainly am.
All right, well, we'll take questions. So go ahead and raise your hand, and I will just speak up at this point because going on now 40 years for me in engineering, right? I've been an engineer and then went on to be a technical manager and all of that. I totally resonate with your message. It's not to say, I had some fantastic male bosses and mentors and coworkers, but yes, but I know exactly what you said, and I just completely resonate with it. It's so important. And you do have to claim your voice, and you do have to make your stand, because what you have to bring to the organization, to your environment, to your community, to your, to the people close to you and the people who don't know you that are learning from you, you have something powerful. You have a message. And you got to believe in that. And you've got to feel like it's okay to share that message. So I love what you had to say, Lori. Thank you so much. And
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
go ahead, Allison.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm so glad I could make it. My apologies, I was late. I was in a graduation ceremony of my own, but I couldn't miss you, Laurie. You know, I think we're very much soul sisters, so I had to be here to support you and cheer you on. And I love the conversation that you've had. Unfortunately, I missed the start of it. So I'm wondering, is your workshop only for women or can men join too?
I would like this first one to be for women.
All right, thank you. The reason I ask is I think for too long, you know, women for centuries, since the time immemorial, really, have been oppressed and, you know, put down. But my personal belief is that since women have been given their power, men have become disenfranchised. And I think that's where a lot of the toxic masculinity now has come to the fore. And I believe for both parties, it's like an ideal marriage. You need to have in each of us, whether regardless of gender, the marriage of divine masculine, divine feminine, because men have the divine feminine too. And for too often, women have had to get into that toxic masculine power themselves to be able to hold their own. And I know myself, I put in the chat, when I used to stand up for my beliefs or my rights, I was called the B word. No, I'm just, you know, someone who believes in what I'm allowed to say and believe. Anyway, not wanting to take the floor, I just wanted to ask that question. And I would love for you to also do something that invites men to see the female perspective and women to kind of share with men where they're coming from and get that marriage happening. So that's all I wanted to ask without being presumptuous.
Thank you, Allison. That's absolutely lovely. And it's an interesting thing you bring up because in creating this, I I had to become extremely honest with myself about where I was with the development of the message, and holding my own feet to the fire has really helped. You know, now I'm extremely focused. It's great. I also had to become honest about the fact that I'm still not, I've been shifting the anger. Women have a tremendous amount of anger, and it's well deserved. It's well earned. You know, we've been held back, and but the thing is that being angry at is not going to change anything. So I was looking and looking for what will change. And yet I don't want to discount the feeling. I don't want to say, well, you shouldn't feel that way. But it's feeling that way about the system and not about men, right? Because the system will absolutely get you every time unless you learn how to do what I call to take what I call the third way. Because what we've learned is to either fight it and then be called the bitch, or we've been taught or we've learned how to sort of adhere to it, just kind of, okay, I'll play the game. And especially for women who are working a regular job, the cost of standing up for yourself can be your job. Yeah. So there has to be a vision that is extremely huge for yourself, who you want to be in this life, so that you're willing to take the momentary pain in order to have the forever growth. And it's well worth it, but it's scary, and it's why we all need to come together and do it. And once I get everything dialed in, maybe I'll partner with Alex. Maybe Alex can do the man version of it. Not sure.
All right, Cynthia. There you go.
Hi. You know, on that, the thing about anger, I just thank you so much for speaking this because it's just right up my alley and totally resonate. Totally, Lori. Just speaking to the anger for a moment, you know, I've had a lot in my journey, a lot of anger against the toxic masculine and against the system. And then after going, you know, for decades of going through that, all of that stuff, I found out I still had anger and I had anger at myself.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, on a level that was toxic in where I hadn't forgiven myself for, it's like I wasn't perfect. I wasn't able to see it at the time and be able to name it for what it is and be able to deal with it within myself, and then so it's this process then of, for me, it was a process of forgiving myself that really made the
Mm.
difference. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that. I was wondering if you're going to put a link in the chat or
The link is
something.
there. The link is there, Cynthia. Bree
Oh.
did. Yeah.
Bree
Okay.
posted it for you,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I can post the one that I did through Bitly, but it's right there.
It
Yes,
is.
and thanks.
Okay. I
And
didn't
I'm
see it.
oh, you're don't worry. There's a lot to look at. And yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying. And sometimes the things we're forgiving ourselves for, we're not even aware that a lot of them are that we've internalized the terrorist. We've internalized the toxic masculine. And we hold ourselves to standards that aren't even about us. I'm not
Right.
white enough, I'm not young enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not old enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not tall enough. It's like it's so based on social programming, and there are ways to rework. I'm such a different person now than I was 3 years ago that good friends of mine are like, who are you and what have you done with Lori? It's possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
yeah.
All right, thank you, Cynthia. Looks like Lori's up next. There you go.
Thank you, Lori. This has been amazing. Thank you. I had a question. Thank you. I had a question when you said that, women will work in micro steps or small little things. I have my thing is I help people reclaim their heart health. If I, and maybe the anger goes along with that with women. But so working with women or men on a one-to-one basis, would you maybe approach the transformational steps or the lifestyle changes one needs to make? Would women do better with the smaller steps, and do men do better with getting out there and going, blazes?
It's a great question, and I don't think it's based on male or female. I think it's
Okay.
based on the masculine and feminine. I think
Okay.
I think humans do better at slower speeds.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would say to that. That's the short answer. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. And then I was thinking, when I have men and women in the same group, would you tailor it differently, or you just focus on the male or female energy?
Well, my focus, if to do the work to work with me to do the work,
Yeah.
you have to be willing to become aware of your emotional body. You have to become willing to be aware of your emotions and start to become very honest with yourself. That is harder than it sounds.
Mhm.
Especially if we spent a lifetime going, oh no, I'm a human doing, I'm not a human being.
Mhm. Okay.
So
Okay.
going from a human doing to a human being is a huge undertaking, but it can be done if it's just not, it's not couched in thou shalt, and it's like it's more like an opportunity. Like
Mhm.
let's explore, let's see what's going on. And I'm thinking that's probably what you do anyway with your
Right.
heart stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Lori. Dr. Harris.
Yes, Laura, incredible presentation and information. And, I have done seminars, I guess, for, gosh, over 40 years. And when you add one man to a women's seminar, it changes the dynamics because
Yeah.
because each person has a different I call it level of traumatic expression or impact. And so just putting one man, I've seen workshops and I've been parts of them, and it's like amazing how it's a different dynamic with one man to a women's workshop. One woman to a man's workshop doesn't change it that much because the men do what they've been doing all along. Discount the woman. I mean, she would have to virtually throw a rock into the middle of the room to get any attention at all, you know. And so I think the idea of even go slow to go fast is a interesting concept because the journey transforms you. And so very often when you go fast with the level of consciousness you have at that moment. And it might be the bull in the china shop. But to go slow to go fast, you take advantage of your own growth along the path. So keep up your great
That's
work.
gorgeous. Oh my God, Dr. Harris, I hope this was recording because that was awesome. I want to quote you. And yeah, there was a study that I found decades ago. I was in my 20s and I was doing graduate work in sociolinguistics, which is the study of how society impacts our language and stuff like that. And there was a study that was done where they wanted to prove that there was such a thing as women's language and that women's language was necessarily disempowered because we're women. So, of course, I was heavily offended by that and went looking for proof to the opposite and found this study where they brought in 10 vice presidents, 9 men, 1 woman. And sure enough, the woman exhibited linguistic tendencies of disempowerment. What kind of tendencies, you ask? Well, there's one that I call the prophylactic style, which is where you say something to protect yourself from attack or judgment before you even get to the point. So you say, look, I know you probably won't agree with me, and I probably should have waited till after lunch, and it might not be exactly on point, but so you've spoken a freaking paragraph before you get to the point, which is, I think that's a lousy idea. Or I think a better idea would be, or why don't we consider this as well? Because you really don't want to say this is a lousy idea, but that's just me being theatrical. But then they switched it and they brought in 9 VPs who were women and 1 who was a man. And sure enough, he exhibited the same disempowering speech practices, I guess you call them. Yeah.
Yeah, patterns, I guess.
Patterns. Thank you so much. So it is a systemic thing, but it is also true that because men, and particularly white men, have been in the catbird seat for millennia, they do not understand.
Yeah.
They don't get it. Even the ones I have a very good friend who's an ally who calls himself a feminist, and even he doesn't get it. And he doesn't get that he doesn't get it. So it requires a lot of curiosity, a lot of compassion on both sides, and a lot of desire to grow and be together.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
All right, and we have time for one more. It'll be James Penny. Go ahead.
So, Lori, first of all, as a father of a 15-year-old, very responsible, self-reliant, confident, determined young lady, I absolutely love what you're doing. I really do.
Thanks.
As she is, I have invested 15 years, or more than 15 years now, and teaching her that there's no glass ceiling, there's no concrete ceiling, there's no rebar metal ceiling that she can't burst through. And she's leaving in September for an entire year at 15 years old to go to France as an exchange student. And she did it all herself. She did all the research. She put in all the exchange companies. She filed, printed out, filled out all of her paperwork to get her state real ID to make it easier to get her passport, all of her passport information. All I had to do was take her to get it. And she's got an amazing host family there. But I do want to share one little story with you, because it's not just the white men who add to this issue. It's also some of the teachers that are female, because one of her teachers, we were at a school event, and I'm sure you know this too, that it's not just, it's like some people get brainwashed regardless. But we were at an event, a school event, and Bella and I, she started at 4 years old. We started rescuing animals with one animal. We've had upwards of 300 rescues. So her teacher tells her, and this is a white female teacher, tells her, no, Bella, when you grow up, you're going to need to marry a very wealthy man if you're going to keep this up. Bella just looks at her and smiles and says, oh no, I can guarantee you I'll be making more money than any man I could marry. She's like, I don't need a man to take care of me. I'm going to be just fine. And my heart just swelled with joy. But anyway, I love what you're doing. I'm going to make sure she gets to take your classes. I think it'll be another good step in the right direction to teach her there are ways to break through any challenge. So thank you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. She sounds incredibly intelligent and determined, and you got to have both. So
Yeah.
glad to hear it.
I like her
I
just
do
a little
think
bit.
though, yeah, you like her a little bit. Yeah, she's okay.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's okay.
Yeah. But she should know there is a system. There is a system out there. Now, it doesn't, that doesn't mean that you have to then go be afraid of it and walk, but you do have to be aware and you do have to make a choice. Who do you want to be in this world? Who do you want to be in this life? And at 15, that she's got some stuffing to her, fabulous. Now, if she can get mentors to help her along the way, she'll just grow and grow and boom.
I love that. We all need mentors.
We do.
So
We do.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, James. Well, Lori, how wonderful this was. So powerful and so real. I think I saw that word the most in all of the comments. They're so real. And that's what we need. We do need to talk about things that are real so that we can, you can't solve a problem that you don't know about, right? So there you go. It was wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope you will come back again. We've got your course posted for this one, but any other courses you bring up any other time, please come back and continue to share in this venue. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. This has been just such a confirmation for me that what I'm doing is what people want, that I'm not just howling at the moon.
Nope, I don't think so. So I think at least this group enjoyed it. So and sees the value. So definitely come back. You've got a community here and the Great Discovery, and we appreciate
I
it.
certainly do.
So thank you so much.
Kathy.
Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you on Monday for another course spotlight. Thanks, everybody. Take care.